Coach Kalen DeBoer, he's proven he can deliver elite recruits to Alabama because it is a tall task replacing the GOAT, especially on the recruiting trail. And that's what we're going to dig in today on this video with Alabama recruiting insider Andrew Bone. But first, Bama fans, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We got you covered all offseason on this roller coaster ride of recruiting. So go ahead, tap in, hit subscribe for me, please. All right. Let's bring on Andrew Bone of Bama Online. And Andrew, why is Coach DeBoer ready for the rigors of recruiting in the SEC? Or should I ask, is he ready for the rigors of recruiting in the SEC?
Well, he better be. He's now coaching for the University of Alabama, and there's going to be a lot of attention on this program. With him replacing Coach Saban, but he started off hot. Obviously, with Ryan Williams last week recommitting, that was a big win for Coach DeBoer and this staff. When Ryan decommitted 2 weeks prior. Didn't look like Alabama was really even going to be a contender anymore in his recruitment, and then quickly made a trip back down to Tuscaloosa to meet with Coach DeBoer prior to his official visit, and things just started to move in the right direction for Alabama. And then he's able to get another top 100 kid in Noah Carter, a former Washington signee out of Arizona. So that was a big win for Alabama, an unexpected win for most Crimson Tide fans who had probably never even heard of Noah Carter before he received the offer about 2 weeks ago from this new coaching staff. So starting out hot, has added some transfer portal players as well. I know the first week or two, everybody was kind of questioning what was happening because you saw decommitments, transfers,
right.
A lot of negative stuff on social media, but it was everything that was happening. But Coach DeBoer was. He was also getting his staff in place. He was working on other guys on the team, trying to keep those guys from entering the transfer portal, which for the most part, it was a pretty good job because there was a lot of guys that could have entered the transfer portal who did not, especially from that 2024 class. When you only lose, two guys, obviously some big names with Julian Stain and Jameer Grimsley, but being able to keep the rest of those guys intact and happy, I thought that was a huge win for Coach DeBoer after the first week.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the transfer portal because when he arrived, you're right. Talk about turmoil in Tuscaloosa. We saw a lot of transfers out, but we do see that everywhere. And there was a good amount of talent that decided to stay at Alabama. Why do you think more players didn't test the portal? Because we're talking Bama players here. They have value on the open market if they chose to do so. Why didn't more test the portal?
I think a lot kind of came down to just the commitment to the program, the commitment to a program that Nick Saban built, kind of leaving a legacy there, but also being able to finally sit down with the coaching staff. I think Devontae Smith, not the Devontae Smith that's in that's playing with the Eagles, but the Devontae Smith who's a defensive back for the Crimson Tide, came out and said, just listen to him, sit down with Coach DeBoer, let him speak to you, hear out his plan for the future, and if you're still thinking about entering the transfer portal, you're an idiot.
Right.
That's Devontae's take. That's not everybody's take, obviously, but that was Devontae's take on it. And some guys still entered the portal, but most of the guys stayed. And I think a lot of it had to do with being able to sit down with the staff once they kind of all got in place, hear their vision, learn about the what they plan to do. And we've heard nothing but positive things. I mean, you look at Ryan Williams, 5-star recruit, had every reason not to go to Alabama after he decommitted. Had other schools that had been recruiting him for a long time, especially Auburn, Texas, schools that he was going to take official visits to. But after sitting down with Coach DeBoer, listening to the plan, listening to the entire staff, made a believer out of Ryan Williams. And when you make a believer out of Ryan Williams, that can go a long way in the future.
It could go a long way, and I've seen this on Twitter. I've seen it on the Bama Online message boards. But how comparable do you think the Ryan Williams commitment was to Nick Saban landing Julio Jones right when Nick Saban started his career at Alabama?
Well, it's big. I mean, you look back to Coach Saban's first real class, which was 2008. He had about a month to work in that 2007 class, but 2008, we kind of knew that was going to be a big year in state because Julio Jones was coming out. Marcel Darius was coming out. It was a loaded in-state crop in 2008, and Nick Saban delivered, and that's what he was able to do time and time again, especially with in-state recruits, but also having a lot of success out of state. But Julio making that decision on National Signing Day 2008 was monumental, because it opened up more elite receivers to start coming to Tuscaloosa in the future, but also it was also kind of that first really big 5-star, top 5 overall player that committed to your program under Nick Saban. Even though they signed some other really big names in that class, he was really the one, the guy that kind of started that recruiting dynasty for Alabama. So Alabama being able to go back, get Ryan Williams in the fold, and everybody says, "Oh, it was an easy task because he was a former commitment who loved Alabama." It wasn't an easy task for Nick Saban with Ryan Williams. I mean, they were working overtime with Ryan, with all the business that he was taking, the officials that were coming up in the month of January. There was definitely some nervous people in Tuscaloosa from a former staff, and now with Coach DeBoer coming in and being able to get that big recruiting win, that's absolutely huge, because especially in the state of Alabama, everybody knows Ryan Williams. Everybody, especially in the Mobile area, those kids are going to see that. Those kids are going to see that Ryan Williams believes in Coach DeBoer, and I think it's certainly going to help Alabama. Not as much in the 2024 class, because the 24 class is pretty much finished,
right.
But that entire class and beyond is certainly going to be a huge boost with Ryan Williams on board.
All right. Last thing I want to hit on is 4-star edge Noah Carter. You mentioned this at the top of how he was a huge addition. Bama landed him after he got out of his letter of intent with Washington. Now, he's originally from Arizona, and I know Alabama recruits nationally, but do you expect to see a little bit more West Coast recruiting, at least early on with DeBoer, since he has some of these relationships with 25, 26 recruits, or does that all go out the window now that he's at Alabama?
Oh, I think they're going to continue to recruit the West Coast extremely hard. We've seen a lot of offers that have been extended out there, especially in the state of California. Jackson Lloyd is an offensive tackle out of Carmel. Took an unofficial visit with Tide this past weekend. We're seeing some more kids out of Mater Day that are going to be visiting Alabama this upcoming weekend for their first junior day. There's a lot of connections out there. The staff knows a lot of kids. They've evaluated a lot of them as well. So I expect that those relationships are going to continue. They're going to continue to recruit the West Coast, maybe even more so than we saw from Nick Saban's staff. Alabama it seemed like they were able to get a player or two each year from California. It seems like this new staff is really hitting California and that West Coast pretty hard. So wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some more guys at least more numbers start visiting Alabama than before, and which probably will result in some more commitments.
Yeah, I think it's at least a trend that we see continue early on in the first year or two of Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. But hey, Alabama's always recruited nationally, so what's the difference? Andrew Bone with Bama Online. Thanks for taking the time, tapping in with us at the Inside Scoop to talk a little Alabama recruiting.
Absolutely, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.